We have Vic with us today, but every weekend, every Saturday and Sunday, we do this program at 2. And we have entomologists, we have herpetologists, we have people who work in the libraries. So we try to bring out scientists that are doing cool work that sometimes you wouldn't really be able to see on the floor in the day-to-day. And Vic works, you might have actually seen him on the floor at the Project Lab.
At the Project Lab, yes.
Have you seen him there? Yeah, so what do you do here at the Academy? What is your title?
Well, officially I'm a curatorial assistant.
Okay,
which
very
means
official.
which means I help with sending out and receiving loans of our insect collection and taking care of the collection. But in recent years, my role has kind of changed, and I've become an imaging specialist. So I spend a lot of my time taking pictures of invertebrates, which are the kinds of animals which I like the most. These are animals that do not have backbones. Their skeleton is on the outside.
Exactly. And we have a cool picture of some invertebrates here, some arthropods.
The insects are the largest group of arthropods on the planet. They make up, well, let me put it to you this way. If you were to take a pie and think about all of the life on the planet, 95% of that life would be invertebrates. And 95% of those invertebrates would be arthropods. And 95% of those arthropods would be insects. So here at the Academy, we have a collection of some 13 million insects, and we have barely touched the surface.
Barely. Can you give us a few characteristics of the arthropods as a group?
Well, all arthropods have their skeleton on the outside, which can act as armor.
Yes.
It can also, depending on where they live, either keep water in or keep water out, and it's good protection against things that want to eat you. And they also, all arthropods have jointed appendages, which is what arthropod means. It means jointed legs. And because of that, they are able to move in many, many, many different ways, including flying.
Definitely, yeah. I would agree. They're very cool animals. You mentioned that you're an imaging specialist, so what are the steps that you take to make an image of these specimens?
Well, a lot of them are really, really tiny, delicate, and difficult to handle. So the first thing I have to do is make sure that I only have 1 cup of coffee in the morning.
Yes.
Because if my hands are shaking, I will break things, and some of these things are rather irreplaceable. Now, when I'm working at the Project Lab and I go to show people outside, I will often take this little, what I call my oh wow case here. This is just a collection of various insects from what we call our boneyard, all kinds of beautiful and pretty butterflies, beetles, bees, and other things. But there are far many other arthropods as well. Right now I have been working on the spiders, and we keep our spiders in alcohol. Yes, they're all over 18.
Yeah.
And this is a jar of spider types. Each one of these little vials contains the placeholder for a species of spider. And we have approximately 400 of these that I'm working on photographing right now.
Okay, so that's what a type specimen is. It's the one that represents the entire species.
That's right. So when a scientist names a species, they have to, among other things, provide an example saying this is what it is. And there's only one type for each species. So they're found in different museums all over the world.
Very cool. So you're working with really tiny specimens and also really important ones.
Yes.
So what are some of the
irreplaceable
precautions that you take when you're imaging these?
Well, like I said, no, not too much coffee.
Not too much coffee.
Very slow and deliberate work. I work with a lot of tiny, tiny tools, including these little tiny, tiny, tiny little pins. I can even pass them around and you can look at them.
Okay, yeah, pass them
They're
around.
called minuten pins, and I use those to make the tools that I use to manipulate these things. I have lots of little tweezers and other kinds of tools that I use.
Okay, I think you brought some other tools with you. Maybe we can have the audience guess what this is. Have you guys, you know what this is, right? Hand sanitize?
This is the mystery tool that I've been using now for more than a
tool.
year. It has made my job much easier, and it also makes my spiders smell really sweet.
Any guesses what he uses it for? What do you think?
Nobody ever guesses. Go ahead.
To clean your hands?
Well, you could use it to clean a spider's hands, but actually what I use it for, nope, close.
Clean
but
the spiders?
No, we don't clean them. So here's what I actually use it for. So spiders have lots of legs, right? And they're hard to keep them in position while you're trying to photograph them. Well, it turns out that we discovered that this hand sanitizer, which is made out of mostly alcohol, is thick enough so that we can put our spiders and other insects in it, arrange their legs and wings the way we want them, and they'll stay in place until we get the picture. And then they come out smelling really good.
There you go. That's a pretty good trick. And we can see in this picture right here, the legs are pretty well aligned in the right spot.
Well, in this particular case, this is an insect that's on a pin, so it's not in alcohol, and we can't do much to move those legs around because it's dried.
Okay.
Now, this is a picture of some of my equipment here. As you can see, I'm experiencing a spider invasion here.
Ah, your favorite animals. Good thing you like them so much.
Well, there's some parents in the audience here, and all parents know, everybody knows that parents, especially moms, have eyes in the back of their head, right? Okay, well, this is a friend of mine. This is a California jumping spider. When I was growing up in school, they used to sometimes tease kids who wore glasses, and they would call us four eyes. Well, this is 8 eyes here. He's got 8 fantastic eyes that he uses to keep track of things. Yeah, and let me tell you, his kids never get in trouble because this mom always knows what his kids are doing.
Definitely. Now, is that a picture that you took, Vic?
It is.
Okay, and he actually is working on really cool equipment in the project lab, that room that you might have seen him working in. Can you tell us what is so awesome about that big piece of equipment?
Well, we have a very special set of equipment here. Mm-hmm. It's called the Big Kahuna camera system. And what it does is it allows us to take really, really, really high-resolution pictures of really tiny things and have the whole thing be in focus all at once, because it takes a series of pictures from the highest focal point down to the lowest focal point, and then my wonderful software crams them all together into one in-focus picture.
Is this a picture of that process right here?
Well, it doesn't show it very well because the whole thing is still kind of blurry, but this is a single image where only a small part is in focus, and this is supposed to represent an image where everything is in focus, just like that one there, which probably took about 30 pictures for me to get that now out-of-focus picture.
Yeah. Do you guys want to guess why taking pictures of these insects and arthropods is so important? Vic, you want to tell us?
We like to share.
We like to share. That's a good thing.
Pictures are a lot easier to share than insect bodies.
Yeah. So if someone is on the other side of the country, other side of the world, you can send them a picture,
We can send them a picture. We put a lot of our photographs, especially of the type specimens, will eventually wind up on our internet site, and anybody can look at them.
Okay. Can you give us an example of how some of these pictures are being used?
Well, they're being used in a lot of different ways. Our researchers use them as part of their descriptions when they're describing new species.
Okay.
Other researchers will use them to look for particular traits that they want to know about some of the different organisms.
Definitely. So there's a lot of questions that are being asked that these can provide the answers for.
Well, they say that a picture's worth 1,000 words, but a really good picture's worth 1,000,000 words, so there you go.
There you go. And a scientific paper, exactly. Mm-hmm. Well, we have all of these specimens here. You're taking pictures of them, but what are the stories behind them? Where are they coming from in the first place?
Well, that's a really great question because our specimens come from all over the world in a number of different ways. One of the ways that we get them is that we have a group of intrepid scientists, I've actually been among them at times, who go all over the world to collect the things that they're interested in. We have people who go to Africa, Asia, all over South America, the Arctic, the Antarctic, just about every place on the planet that you can go, they've been there collecting things.
Exactly. And these are some of the collection techniques that they have, and I especially like this one. Can you tell us about that piece of equipment?
Well, this is one of our lead entomologists, Dave Kavanaugh. He is particularly interested in high-altitude beetles, and he's up in the Sierras in that picture collecting some snow beetles using a very sophisticated scientific tool called a pooter.
A pooter.
The pooter is nothing more than a rubber tube with a plastic tube on the end with a screen that keeps you from swallowing what you suck up. And it's sometimes very difficult to handle tiny little insects without damaging them, but by sucking them up like that and blowing them out into a jar, they can be handled without damaging them.
Oh, so he's actually sucking up. He's not puffing out.
And there's Dave admiring some of his catches from a different kind of trap. Here we have Brian Fisher, who I like to call our entomologist because he studies ants, and here he's using a special vacuum to collect ants. And here are some entomologists collecting at night by shining a light on a white sheet to attract insects to it.
Some cool strategies. Now, you also have some favorite arthropods, but maybe I can ask the audience first. Do you guys have any favorite arthropods? Spiders? All spiders? Awesome. What's your favorite? Oh, black widow. Did you have a favorite?
Ants. Yeah.
Very cool. So, Vic, what is your favorite?
Well, that's a question I always have trouble answering because I see so many of them, and every day I find a new favorite.
Okay.
Today, if you come by the project lab, you might see some pictures that I'm taking of these amazing insects called fulgurids, and they look like butterflies, but they're not. They have beautiful, bright-colored wings.
Very cool. Now, here's an example of one that you do particularly enjoy.
Well, I've spent a lot of time taking pictures of our collection of these insects, which are called robber flies. Now, when most people think about deadly predators, they think about things like lions, tigers, sharks. But I'm here to tell you that the robber fly is one of the most deadly predators on the planet. Fortunately, they are not as big as they are on that screen. Most of them are about this big, and they don't hunt humans, fortunately. But they've got fantastic big eyes and great eyesight, and they've got a huge, powerful thorax to power these wings that allow them to fly really, really well. They've got these long, long legs with claws and spines all over them. And what they do is they either hang in place or they fly around and wait for an insect to come by, and then they catch it and they eat it, just like that.
Catch it and they eat it. What kind of animals are they eating?
Well, they're eating other kinds of flies and other types of insects. And hidden within this beak here is actually a stabbing, sword-like beak that it uses to catch its prey.
Very cool. Now, I want to let you in on a little secret. You can tell how passionate Vic is about his work, right? Would you have guessed that he had another profession? I'm going to call you out right now.
I've had two other professions, actually, but...
Well,
there he is.
Show this one. He was in
that strange guy on the left
band.
is me. Or on
he
the
was
right.
in a rock band. I think that's fantastic. And now you're working with it. How do you become interested in insects and having kind of an eclectic past?
Well, actually, I've been interested in invertebrates ever since I was a little kid.
Okay.
And I had a lot of help from my parents who encouraged me and took me to places like this and got me the equipment that I needed to study things like insects and pond water, my favorite things. And, a picture like this tells you one thing that's very interesting, and that's that, there's a lot of things that you can do in your life, and you can do them all. You just can't do them all at the same time.
I like that bit of advice. Now, I do have a few more questions for Vic, but I want to open it up at this time. Does anybody have questions for him?
Yes. I use a microscope all the time. It's one of my favorite things. Now, I was lucky. When I was about 9 years old, my dad got me my first microscope, and I spend most of my life at least a few hours a day looking through some kind of microscope.
Good question. Any other ones? Yes.
There are no insects that are not arthropods. All insects are arthropods, but not all arthropods are insects. Think about things like crabs, lobsters, shrimps, spiders, millipedes, centipedes, sow bugs. All of those are all arthropods, but they're not all insects.
Nice.
Now remember what happened with the planet Pluto a couple of years ago? They demoted it and made it not a planet anymore. Well, we have a couple of groups of insects that they have demoted now, and they're no longer insects, but they're still arthropods.
Okay, still part of the group. You got another question in the back row?
Say again? We've asked them, and they won't tell us. No, we just know that it's true.
Okay.
We have to play it. Did you have a question, too? How
long do you spend in the lab?
Well, when I'm here, usually most of the day. 8 hours a day.
Yeah. For maybe one of the scientists that we were profiling earlier that are going out in the field, how much time are they in the field and how much time are they in the lab?
Well, going out in the field is sometimes dangerous, sometimes uncomfortable, and almost always very expensive. So when we travel around the world to different places, we make the most of it and do as much as we can to collect. But for every hour that we spend in the field collecting, there's at least 40 hours or more of work when we get back for each hour that we spend.
Definitely.
You had a question too, sir.
Like, do you work where you examine them or go out and find them? Or?
I do all of those things.
Ah.
You, sir.
Like, where's your lab in the office is like, what area do you
Oh, good
Well, you guys
question.
can come and see one of the places where I work on the other side of the building. It's called the Project Lab. Gee, I don't know.
Favorite
I like
insect
them all.
to discover.
That's a hard thing for me.
Well, there's a lot more out there to discover, right?
There is a lot more out there to discover. We don't even know how much is out there. Yes,
discover a new species?
not of insects, but when I was working as a marine biologist, I discovered and named 5 new species of
Ooh,
nudibranchs.
that's exciting.
Which
do you
is
have a
kind of
question?
exciting and kind of fun. And there's a big secret I got to let you guys in on. You know, people think about scientists as these stuffy people, you know. Actually, science is really fun.
I think science is fun. Does
I do
anybody
too.
else?
And I have a special message to some of the members in the audience out here. This is a great time for girls and women to get ahead in biology. Now, I'm also a school teacher, so I know that when in the college classes that I teach, there are more and more women going into biology and succeeding. And you guys, something for you to think about too. If you want to meet girls, take a biology class.
Definitely. Okay, I think we have time for a few more questions.
Yes,
Did you discover roly-polies?
I did not discover them, but I love to find them. Now, somebody was asking about black widows before. You know what black widows like to eat? Roly-polies.
Ah, okay, question.
You don't know what the reaction would be.
Oh,
That's
you don't
true,
know
that's
the
true.
reaction. Yeah, but I think it would also be exciting to find new species. Now, I have one more question, and maybe if you guys have some more after the show, you can come on up and ask. You have a cool story that's surrounding the California state insect.
I do. I wonder if I brought that picture with me today. I don't know if
Oh, I
did.
should have reminded you. I think it's a really cool
Ah.
story.
So,
Ah,
Californians love their mascots. We have all kinds of mascots. You know, we have a state flower. It's the California poppy. We have a state tree. It's the redwood. We have a state mineral. It's gold. But we also have a state insect. And we were the first state in the nation to name a state insect. It turns out it's a butterfly. And everybody says, is it the monarch? No, it's not the monarch. Somebody else got that one. Ours is called the Dogface Butterfly. And they call it that because some people think they see the shape of a dog's head in profile there. Now, if that doesn't work for you, you can call it a flying pansy. Now, those of you adults who have recent California driver's licenses, if you look closely on your driver's license, you will find a tiny black and white picture of our state butterfly.
Very cool. It's a very good fact to know. Now, if you want to come on up and ask questions to Vic, we'll be here for a few more minutes. We can hang out. Thank you guys so much for learning about entomology and arthropods. It's a pretty exciting field. Let's give Vic a round of applause.
Thank you. Thanks for coming
Hey.
today.